Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to phase three of our Nerd Nation MCU tier list. I'm with Cousin Cheeto and DC Fan. Welcome back, guys. Let's get on with this. What's the first movie?
Man, I just want to say really quick, it's all awesome that we coordinated our clothes so that for all three of these parts we're wearing the same clothes.
Fantastic, yeah.
First one is Captain America: Civil War. Zam.
This is a fucking amazing movie. Just I want to get the negatives out of the way. This is also Winter Soldier Part Two, as well to a degree. But it's good that we, in a way, that we also got to get an extension to Bucky's story, and that has benefited the MCU as a whole, in my opinion. But I can see some people's gripes with that. But nevertheless, this film is an Avengers movie. You know, this has got so many Avengers in this film. You can't it cannot be not an Avengers film, but some of the elements of the film are just fantastic. Like there's the beef between the Avengers, there's the introduction of Baron Zemo, who's my favorite MCU villain. It's so well portrayed by the actor whose name escapes me, but seeing like more of how Bucky Barnes operates, that he could be mind controlled and shit like that, and I mean, I'm sorry. There's just so much to it. We get to meet Spider-Man in this film too. The big fight they have in Germany is really great. We see the situation in Lagos as well, which has been referenced several times since. It's just such a good film, like, and the emotion between Captain America and Iron Man, like, I mean, it was a harp. I love the way that it was the big battle at the end was between those two, and how Baron Zemo killed all those supervillains, because, you know, which was very cliche to have those supervillains fight the Avengers. He killed them because they were bad people. He doesn't want more bad people. He wanted to destroy the Avengers, and he destroyed the Avengers. He won. You know, it's a great film. It's the most heartbreaking of the more heartbreaking than Infinity War. It's left a lump in my throat because of how that film ended with Tony Stark. I mean, he'd never got to avenge his parents to a degree. You know, like Iron Man beat him. Sorry, Captain America beat him and just left him there. And it's a really sad film, man. It's a really sad film. And I love it. I love it so much. It's brilliant. I've got nothing more to say.
Bossman, go
Oh,
ahead.
no, sorry, I apologize, Bossman.
Okay, I agree. It's a brilliant film, and I think that what makes it work is one, Baron Zemo doesn't die. Actually, he stopped from dying. I think it's Black Panther at the end.
Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah, we got to meet him as well, by the way. Yeah, I missed out on him. Yeah,
yeah. The fact that, like, the slow reveal what happened to his parents. You know, it's not rushed. It's allowed to set in. Like, you know, we see this, like, you know, this slow drive of the car. We see it slowly up, and it's like, and you run nervous tension, and you see him like literally kill both of them. It's like.
He smacked his dad's head with the fucking car door, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he strangled his mum.
He punched him to death. Like he held him by the hair and he punched him until he was dead.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to die.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like, you know, and the thing is, Baron Zemo did nothing but show the truth. And that's what makes him genius, is the fact that he didn't create some master plan where he's like taking over the world. Wah, ha, ha, ha.
He created a master plan, but not to take over the world. But I mean, his plan was amazing. His plan was fucking amazing, man. but yeah.
And the thing is, he knew that bringing him to that facility, he controlled every aspect. And it literally, when he sat down on that little hill, he was literally like had the bottle of poison or whatever it was in his hand, and then like Black Panther comes over and you don't quite see him, but you just hear him talking to him, but you see him about to drink, and then Black Panther just like wrestles him. But I'm thinking, why can you not do that to every villain? It's like that's the frustrating aspect, but everything else, as I said,
because Black Panther's not in every movie.
And by the way, Chadwick Boseman killed it, man. In his introduction, absolutely killed it, and Peter Parker as well, Tom Holland.
I was not on board with Tom Holland right away. I'll get to Tom Holland later, but you keep going. Sorry, boss man.
No, but as I said, the storyteller's well done, the pace is brilliant, and what is best is that you can see each other's points of view. It's not one where you end up siding with one or the other. You can see where Tony's coming from. That this guy killed his parents, and you can see from Steve's point of view that he's only just got back in touch with his friend who's not seen for 50, 60 plus years, 70 plus years. And we can understand that. So we get both are relatable and both are understandable from their position. You don't end up going, "Oh, I'm gonna, go with Cap," or "I'm gonna go with Iron Man."
But even before all of that, boss man, it was just about the Sokovia Accord, which is what makes Age of Ultron now so good, because the remnants of that was massive. It was like they wanted the Avengers to be government controlled, whilst fucking Captain America didn't want that shit. And that's how it kind of really began. But then they added this next layer with Tony Stark's parents being killed by Bucky, which really came right at the end of the movie.
But that was a plan from Winter Soldier, because there if you notice on the when you look at the date on the death of the news report or the newspaper of their death, it says the date. What is it?
I agree, yeah. But it's not. It makes more sense now. But I mean, even then, it was fucking surprising as hell.
Oh yeah, it caught me off guard too. I was like, oh yeah, shit.
And so, this film is just absolutely brilliant. Like the twists and turns, the emotion, the Civil War itself. It's just. It makes me emotional thinking about it. It's that good. It's tier 1 for me. I don't know about you guys.
Tier 1 for me.
I mean, it is. It is. I understand all of Boss Man's gripes with the first 2 Avengers movies. I don't care that much about what the things that he's talking about. I wanted to see all my action figures get smashed together, and and all that, and that's kind of. But I mean, this movie right here, and I'm assuming in Boss Man's perspective, this is how an Avengers movie should be done. And I agree, and I mean, it's a good movie, and you have all the Avengers in it, and it proves that they can do an ensemble Avengers level movie and still have it be not all bang your toys together and just all that. So I mean, I see where you're coming from, Boss Man, with that. And I mean, this movie proves it. Like they buckled down and they said, look, and not only is it Avengers 2.5, it is Captain America 3. There are so many elements for Captain, this was a culmination of Captain America's journey from the first Avenger, Winter Soldier, and now Civil War. And I can't even say that the Civil War aspect even overshadowed the Captain America 3 aspects of it. I mean, was it all right there in front of our face? Yeah, but they did it in such a way that I never felt like that this wasn't also a Captain America movie, and sometimes also an Iron Man 4 movie. There was a balance there, and they paid off a lot of stuff in this movie. The Russo brothers are genius. I love them.
Yeah. All right. And also in this movie as well, the consequences of their Civil War, because Rhodey got paralyzed at the end of this movie too.
But nobody died.
Nobody died, but they still I mean, they were fighting each other with all their shit. Yeah. I mean, somebody could have died quite easily.
No, and that's kind of... and I mean, Ant-Man came into the fold in this one. With that Giant Man scene in Germany. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Dude, when that happened, I marked out in the theater.
Me too.
But I mean, yeah.
And then Spider-Man goes, do you remember that really old movie?
Oh, God. We could get into all the details, but we don't have time for it. But, yeah, I mean, it's all so well woven together. So all right, so the next one we're going to be looking at, and I put this at tier 1. I just threw it up there because we knew it was going to be there. All right, so the next one we're bringing it back down a little bit, back to the origin level, and we're going to be doing Doctor Strange. Boss Man, take it away. Sorry, I know you're hosting, Zam. Sorry.
No, it's okay, mate.
I actually quite like this because I like this idea of this cocky Dr. Kildare-esque guy who has the thing that he's most proud of be taken away with, which is his hands, and he goes everywhere to research it. And the thing is, the only thing I disagree with is having Tilda Swinton. Unless it doesn't against Tilda Swinton, it should be somebody who is Asian, like maybe I'm trying to think of somebody like I don't know,
Michelle Yeoh.
I'm Maggie, like Michelle Yeoh or Maggie
Yeah,
Q or somebody who is of that ethnicity, even if it's an American lady, somebody who is that
Lucy Liu.
ethnicity. Yeah, exactly, Lucy Liu, something like that. And the thing is that this is nothing against Tilda Swinton. She's a great actress. It's just that she was wrong for that role, in my opinion. But saying that though, I love the fact that like it has a lot of pop references when he goes like when he talks about Beyonce and stuff like that with the librarian and stuff like that, and he's the most hardcore librarian, and you see like him getting all these equipment to sort of dum up, and I like the fact the way he wins is he annoys his enemy to death. He literally puts that time rewind it. So basically, he's in a time loop forever of killing him. So like he kills him like every 5 seconds. He goes, "The Babu comes to bargain, kill him."
God
The
knows how many
Babu,
times he got killed. By the way, God knows he could have got
yeah,
killed a million times.
probably like a million times. And literally, like Damaro's like, I literally like snaps. He goes, "Right, I'll do whatever you want. Just leave me alone." It's like
Yeah, and
he literally annoys.
I was saying, keep in mind he felt every single death. Like it's not like he forgot about them every single time. Like he, that's why in one of the later movies he's like, well, me and death are what did he say? Like me and death are old friends or something like that. Because he died. Who knows how many times he died before Dormammu got tired of it?
Yeah, but he must have been enjoying it for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I
Well, hold on, Boss Man. Where are you going to put this one at?
I'd say between 1 and 2. So I'd say 1 because I think it is excellent here. But again, like I think it just loses a couple of points because there are some points that I think it could have been tighter written. But that's just my opinion. Until just written does bring it down, but not because of her, but because she just got wrong.
Okay, so tier 2 then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So,
Zam.
yeah.
I'll start off by saying this is tier 2 for me, and just about tier 2, by the way. I think Mikkelsen is a great actor, but he was a terrible villain in this. Tilda Swinton as well. I just had real problems with the beginning of the movie when it's all Inception and she's doing all her martial arts. I'm just not believing any of it. I can't imagine it's Tilda Swinton doing that shit. It just wasn't buying it. It was interesting seeing a very cocky Stephen Strange before he gets humbled, but we kind of seen that before. To a degree, the way his hands got damaged was kind of funny. I'm not sure I didn't like the CGI and that. It looked a bit stupid, to tell you the truth. Him learning and in the Far East and stuff, and before there's one moment where he ends up not being taken in by Tilda Swinton, and he's just sitting there with a massive beard, and he looks like a homeless man. I'm thinking to myself, this guy's a fucking surgeon. And he's a homeless man now in Tibet or some shit like that. What the fuck? It's funny how he loses everything once he's no longer be able to do surgery anymore. It's like I like Stephen Strange more in the Avengers movies than I did in this film. There were some cool moments with his cloak and stuff like that, which kind of made him the chosen one to a degree. I mean, like, what's his name? I can never say the actor's name properly, but it was the black guy, the British actor.
Oh, I can't. I can never. I know Baron Mordo.
Yes,
the guy who I can't even. I always want to say
he's foreshadowed to be a future villain because he is in the comics. But I just like some of that tension wasn't really there for me, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just about it's okay. I mean, I think by this particular point in the MCU, we can almost forgive them, and we almost like stuff which are kind of average because they've done such a good job by now. But this is 2.
2?
This
okay.
is 2. Yeah.
And I agree, it's tier 2. But this is one of my favorite origin stories. I mean, I get it that it's cliched with the cocky doctor then being humbled. Okay, that I get. But I liked Benedict Cumberbatch is a freaking national treasure. I don't care if he's British. He's an American national treasure. I love him so much, and I mean, I'm sorry, his American accent actually to me sounded fine. I forgot. It was weird at first because I'd seen him in Sherlock and I had seen him in Star Trek Into Darkness. I think this was before that, but I knew who he was. I've heard him many times talk, and I knew he had a thick And I was even okay with them for the sake of not having to like deal with him trying to cover up his accent. You know, I was okay with them. I'm like, okay, Doctor Strange is British. I'm okay with this. Like, I'm okay. Make him British. And then I went in there and I have like within 3 minutes, I forgot that he was even a British guy. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is amazing. I liked a lot of this movie. I liked the ending sequence where you know they're fighting in reverse time and everything like that. Dormammu was a little like it was a little Fantastic Four Galactasy, like in my
Yeah,
opinion, like him just being a big floaty head with the waves and everything. And it's just like at least we got a face, unlike in Fantastic Four.
I did like Benedict Wong, by the way. He was probably
Oh,
my
Benedict
favorite
Wong
thing
was great.
in my favorite, yeah, in this film.
So I'll give it a tier two. I mean, I could go on for a while about this one, but I'll give it a tier two also. So we will put it in tier two. And then we are moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Okay, who would like to start that?
Sure, I'll
Go on,
start.
Bob. Go for it.
This one was okay. Not as good as the first. Not as bad as everybody made it out to be. Um, I really think that the stars in this one was definitely Gamora and Nebula. Quill and his dad was okay. Baby Groot was there, and Rocket, of course, is again he's a freaking national treasure as well. Bradley Cooper is Rocket. If I could have my GPS on my phone talk like Rocket and tell me where to go, I would go for it. So, but that's it. I mean, I'd probably give this a that'll do tier, tier three. Not that it's bad. As I said, I'm being picky now because I mean, there's a lot of good movies, and I mean they're all good, so we kind of have to be picky. So, Boss Man, I'll turn it over to you.
Um, I think this is a good film, but as I said, like I like Kurt Russell as Ego. He's very bombastic, which I like that to be. And again, like as I said, I think the thing is that, as I said, it's not as good as the first one. I agree with you two on that, but I do think there is good parts to it. Like I like the fact that we get to find out about Eagle's plan. Because again, we don't know what it is occasionally, and we think that the bad guys actually could be Sylvester Stallone, it could be the Golden People. Sorry, I forgot who they were. The other people are going to be against Adam Strange. It's good, and the thing is that they, as I said, I like the fact that you see their like little golden things, and I thought, oh, they're going to be the bad guy. No, it's actually this planet is actually a bad guy. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this before, and it's actually interesting to see it. But as I said, I agree with you too. It's not as good as the first one.
I haven't given my opinion yet, but okay.
So you're tier three also, Boss Man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zam.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of. I'll be honest with you. I'm close to tier 4 with this film. I think this film is shit. We got to meet what's her face,
Mantis.
Mantis in this film, which was pretty cool. And I thought Dave Bautista was a lot better in this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed his character in this film. But I find the overall story to be shit. I did like the moments with Rocket when he was on his own. Could not stand Baby Groot. I can't stand Baby Groot in this movie.
Yeah, Rocket and Yondu had some really good parts in this movie. And we got to see that Stan Lee was an agent of the Watchers.
Also, by the way, when Rocket was when they did that trans warp thing and their like faces all going all over the place and shit like that, I did like that scene. But I thought too much of it was set on this one planet with Kurt Russell, and it felt more like and I don't want to. I love Star Trek, as we all know. We all love Star Trek, but this almost felt like a shitty Star Trek episode at times, and that's not good for me. Like this should be more grandiose than that. It felt very bogged down being on that planet. I didn't like it. I didn't like this. I felt I understood they had to maybe answer the fact that regarding Quinn's dad, they needed to resolve that, and they did, but it's still a shit film.
Okay.
I'll put it in tier 4. Yeah, I'll put it in tier 4. But
all right, it's gonna sit in tier 3. Me and Boss Man gave it a 3. So sorry, Zam, but your opinions have been noted and tossed out the airlock.
Thank you.
All right, so the next one on the list is Spider-Man: Homecoming. So I'm going to start off with this one because I am a lifelong Spider-Man comic book reader. Love Michael Keaton, love him as Vulture, hands down. After Civil War, I liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I wasn't sold on him. In this movie, I got more of the same. I was still a little bit not convinced, and I don't think anyone could ever be the perfect Peter Parker. So I understand that I am a fan that cannot be happy with anything with Spider-Man. Is Tom Holland the best out of the Peter Parkers and Spider-Mans that have come before? Yes, in my opinion. Tobey Maguire was garbage. Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man, but just too much of a emo young adult Peter Parker that was supposed to be in high school. But is he the best Spider-Man so far? He's definitely the best iteration thus far. But still, does he check off all my boxes? No. And as of this movie, as I said, we haven't even gotten into the other movies that he's in. But and the shocker being in this movie and passing the gauntlets between two people, whatever. Honestly, I think it was a waste. Mostly, it was done okay. But I really didn't like the fact that the Vulture was a rejected Iron Man villain. I get why they
A
did
totally
it that way.
totally different origin to the Vulture, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, and as I said, it's
Yeah,
not that I didn't like the origin. It's like I felt like it was Iron Man. Iron Man's too big to deal with this dude, so now Spider-Man has to deal with it. That's just how it felt. And I don't feel like, and then of course, Mr. Stark, Mr. Stark, Mr. Stark. It's like, dude, okay, in Civil War it was one thing. Calm down a little bit on the Mr. Stark stuff. It was basically Iron Man's movie, I almost said Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland guest starred in it sometimes. Robert Downey Jr. chewed up the scenery. Everybody was waiting just for Iron Man to show up a lot of times. So
he saved his ass.
yeah, a couple times. And I understand that for a young hero to need like a mentor type character, but they kind of overdid it.
He became Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and he became Uncle Ben, and that's another thing. So I am okay with them not doing the origin, obviously. I'm okay with them not even really referencing the origin. The fact that they keep dancing around this great power and great responsibility thing is irritating. I was hoping it would be in this movie because it's cliche for Spider-Man for a reason, because it is in his character. And in Civil War, when they did the whole, well, when you have the power to do something, then you don't. And it's like, okay, you didn't say it there. Whatever. We'll get it in Spider-Man Homecoming. We'll get it. Nope, not in there. And it's just, we still haven't gotten it. And it's just like, it's like a running joke, like Avengers Assembled at this point, like in the Avengers movies. So I am not the hugest fan of this movie. As I said, it might just be, I am just a non-pleasable Spider-Man dumbass fan. But then again, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies is Spider-Man 2. And that had some major problems too. So, I'm gonna put this in the tier 3 that'll do tier, and I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but Zam, go ahead and take it away from here.
It's a good film, and I think one of the things people wanted out of this movie and they got was a non-origin story, but to a degree we got like an origin of his character sort of story instead. Like you got to be more than just a suit and all that sort of shit. It's all right. It's a good film. Tier 2. I mean, I like Michael Keaton in the film.
I do too.
The fact that he knows his identity is a bit of a strange one.
Well, yeah, and it feels like that's another thing, is that like
always hovering over his
Yeah.
head. And when you come to, but then again, come to think of it, everyone knows who he is now. So
Yeah,
it
but I
doesn't matter
mean,
anymore.
one of the defining factors of Spider-Man is always him trying to keep his secret identity. And it seems like in this movie and even at the end with Aunt May, it seems like everybody already just knows. And I mean, I know that's kind of different from the comics, and that worked for Iron Man. In Spider-Man's case, because he's a kid technically, I feel like that's different. Like Tony's like
Yeah, I
a
agree.
billionaire. He can protect himself.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's just a kid from Queens.
he's a superhuman strength. He's got superhuman strength and superhuman abilities. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, when it comes to his mental state,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, boss.
Um,
Oh, go ahead, Sam. I thought you were done.
no, yeah, no, go on, boss man.
As I said, I compare this to the other Spider-Man films, and I said the best one to my mind is the one you just mentioned, which was Spider-Man 2. Which again I think is still the best one. But saying that though, I thought this was really, really well done. I love Michael Keaton as Vulture. I thought he was probably the best villain since Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. And I thought, it had the one villain. Yeah, it had Shocker, but it was only like wearing that gauntlet. It wasn't really like Shocker in the full suit or anything like that. And I thought that was well done. Because I like the fact that he only suited up when he had to. It wasn't the thing where he was overexposed. You saw in everything. It was like literally like when like the thing we were in trouble was like, oh shit, we need to call the boss, right. We need you to do this for us, and he literally come in and like hurls. I like that because we use a mega villain sparingly. I use the little small villains to build him up. So like you can build him up as like saying, "Oh, we need to contact the boss to get us out of this," and then we just see him in spots there. We see him like in different parts. Right, we see him in I don't know on that ship, or we see him like trying to take these different things and stuff like that. And he's all to do with him trying to get out of it so we can have a nice life for his family. And that's something that we can do for us because like most of the villains don't really have a good was a motivation, but he does. He wants to provide for his family, which.
Well, they fucked up on the timeline as well with this movie, by the way,
I
making it
agree.
8 years later and stuff like that. Yeah, he was a blue collar villain, which was kind of different as well. And it's good to see villains like this, which are a bit more three dimensional and
I
spaced
don't I
out.
don't actually think so. I think Baron Zemo was more of the first blue collar villain. Like he was from a different country, but he was definitely blue
No,
collar.
no, I never said first. I just said it was a blue collar. I just called him a
Oh,
blue
okay.
collar
I thought you said
villain.
he's the first, and I'm like,
No,
I don't know about
he's
that.
not. He's not the first. I'm just saying he's a blue collar villain, which is a nice change of pace. But because usually when you've got villains who are blue collar, they've almost got a reasonable reason to like their massive grandiose plans and stuff like that. Whilst maybe white collar villains, it just tends to be greed. Yeah.
Well, I'd say for me it's between tier 3 of 2. I'd say just maybe right slight tier 2, but I said if you
Well,
want to put it
boss
tier
man, you're
3,
the deciding factor because he's tier 2, I'm tier 3, so you're the deciding factor, bud.
tier 3 because I took about to Spider-Man 2. Sorry,
Oh,
that,
Okay.
that, that's
Fair
that,
enough.
that's the deciding factor. Sorry.
all right. So tier 3 it is. And as I said, I didn't hate the movie. I walked out of it pretty satisfied. I think I'm an insatiable Spider-Man
I think
fan.
it's a disservice for Homecoming, but anyway. You guys overruled it, so let's go.
All right. So the next one is going to be Thor Ragnarok'em Sock'em Robots. Who did we start with last time? I don't remember. Oh, it was me. Boss man, I think you can start this one.
I love this film. I don't think about it by what you're saying. You don't, but I just love this because I love the fact that it starts off with him like rotating round on that little like that
Hmm.
hook, and he's talking to Solder, and and then he has like wait round. It's like I actually laugh, and then you laugh throughout, and it has. Well, it has Led Zeppelin 3 times. Yeah,
The immigrant song.
the immigrant song. 3 times. It's awesome every time.
I want
Uh,
to know why all these cosmic movies have all of these like old 80s and 70s music. Like they're just now getting these broadcasts that left Earth that long ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that. I love Kate Blanchett as as the the goddess of the underworld. I love that, and I love the fact that
Carl
he,
Urban as Scourge.
yeah, I like how it's like I went to Texas and I got these. I'm like, oh, okay, I love that.
Hey,
I,
Carl Urban is another American national treasure, and we're taking him.
I love the fact that like it has a humor about it. It's always funny, but there's also serious parts in it. Like Jeff Goldblum is his most Jeff Goldblum. It's like the God of Thunder is just like can I adopt Jeff Goldblum? I know he's older than I am, but like, I want to adopt him. And it's like and
God of
he's great in
Sparkles.
this. Yeah, it's like and then I love the fight between Hulk and Thor. I love the humor of this. I laughed solidly, and for me, if you make me laugh more than 7 times, you can do whatever they want. So that's the reason it's in my excellent tier because it made me laugh, and that's what any comedy movie should do. And I think this is a good comedy movie.
All right, so phase one tier, top one.
Yeah, yeah. Say one for me.
All right, well, I'm gonna go and then Zam can go. For this one, for me, I'm not saying I hated it, and I did laugh, so I can't say it's Terrence Howard tier, but it is definitely not my favorite Thor movie at all. I felt like that there was a lot of disservice to the Thor character. However, I acknowledge what it did. It reinvented the Thor character. I acknowledge that, and I don't care that they cut his hair. I don't care but the comedy was just too Taika Waititi. And I know that there's a time and a place, but like the one part that got me is just it's at the end, and everybody's talked about it when Surtur's destroying Asgard, and then and then Taika Waititi, even Taika Waititi himself is saying we will build this, blah, 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 and then he just completely just wipes out Asgard, and it's just like, and he's like, oh, maybe not, and it's like, I hate this, I hated it. Like not the whole movie.
Well,
I hated that
Asgard is
part.
a people, not a place. Remember?
And that's another thing. Asgard is a people, not a place. And I'm like, oh god. And then how they used Odin in it, I get it. Like he didn't want to be there. Like Anthony Hopkins did not want to be there. He was kind of done with the whole thing. So I think they used him the best they could.
This was brilliant because we got a different side of his acting in
Yeah.
this movie as
Yeah.
well with him. And if you see the deleted scenes, you see him as a homeless man.
Yeah, I know, right? I would have much preferred that, honestly. And then the whole like the end of Thor: The Dark World was just turned into a big joke at the beginning of this one, like where Loki takes over the throne, and he just he does the whole holding his head and the hammer's coming back. I was just like, no, like I was hoping for more from that. So for me, I'll do that'll do tier. Honestly, I would more do a Terrence Howard tier. But as I said, I don't think this movie is crap. I did laugh, and the Hulk fight was great. I really liked Mark Ruffalo in this. He was really great as Bruce Banner, and not being Bruce for like 2 years. He's like, what's going on? What?
That was brilliant.
Valkyrie in this movie is great. I liked Valkyrie. But just sometimes and don't get me wrong, Chris Hemsworth is he's a great comedy actor at this point with this movie. But I just felt like it was this is Thor Ragnarok. This is the end of all things. This is not a lighthearted movie. So I feel like they should have maybe done Thor Love and Thunder with Taika Waititi first, and it being Thor Ragnarok, and maybe do something a little. And I know people probably would have hated it because a lot of people hated Thor: The Dark World, but I wanted something more along the lines of Thor: The Dark World, where it is the end of all things, and it's a little bit more somber and a little bit more dark, and then you can go into the Thor Ragnarok of it, and or the Thor, the Ragnarok version where it's more of a comedy. But that's just my opinion. So I'm gonna do that'll do only because you're right, it did make me laugh, and we got some appearances from Doctor Strange, which was fun.
Yeah.
And the Hulk fight was fun, and Mark Ruffalo was great. And Hela was good. I liked Hela. I wish we would have gotten more of her. The way they did the way they did the Warriors 3, though, I hated that. Like the first two just done, and then like even Hogan got a little bit of action, and then he was done. And it's like there should have been a fight with the Warriors 3 and Sif fighting Hela, and it should have been a knockout drag out fight. It didn't have to be super long, but like you have Hela just laying waste to all these Asgardians, and I understand that because she's powerful, but just the way they did the Warriors 3 and it was such a disservice to the characters that we've come to like over the past couple movies. So.
Well, I would say Callum and having twin, what are the M16s and goes, this is Stroy, elevates into number 2 for me. I'm sorry.
No, I know, and I mean, okay, I get, and Carl Urban was fantastic as the Executioner. I mean, that was great. Texas, I love it. That was great. But yeah, Zam, go ahead.
For me, this is top tier. You do make some good points, by the way, regarding the negatives. I actually agree with a lot of them. But not regarding, but regarding like it being a bit more somber. I think they really needed to take this film in a different direction, and it worked for far as I was concerned. We got to see Bruce Banner, the Hulk, in a movie which wasn't Avengers as well, which was good because we got to see a character get fleshed out more, which was important. Um, there's so much in this fucking movie. Like the beginning of this movie and the very end of this movie are real bookends to this film because they don't really play a part until the beginning and the end. And what happens in the middle with Jeff Goldblum and with Hella and stuff like that, it's an absolute wild ride of a film. You know, I'm not sure how I felt about Carl Urban's character. I'm not, I just found him a bit weird. You know, I couldn't, and him like sacrificing himself at the end. I just found out all that he just felt too selfish to do something even like that. You know what I mean? You know,
Honestly, I felt like the Executioner should have been a character that they introduced in either the first Thor or Thor: The Dark World. You know what I mean? Like for
yeah,
I mean I felt like they could have fleshed out that character a little bit if he was kind of like the Warriors 3 fanboy maybe or something like that, and then like this movie comes along and like Loki makes him like the Watcher or the Watchman guy. And also Hamdall in this movie, he got shafted too, in my opinion. I liked the change they made where he wasn't so stoic, but I still feel like he got shafted in this movie.
By the way, I also want to answer your question regarding the same with Anthony Hopkins at the beginning. So, regarding Loki pretending to be the king and pretending to be Anthony Hopkins at the beginning, this is why Loki would never make a good villain to a degree because he's too arrogant, and Thor saw right through his arrogance. At the end of the day, Loki he might pretend to be somebody else, but he's still going to be himself, and Thor saw that, and which is why he was able to do what he did at the beginning of the film. And I love the Matt Damon cameo at the beginning as well, which is pretty cool, and Sam Neill, which was pretty cool as well. There's some really good moments in the film. We lost Mjolnir. Mjolnir got destroyed in this fucking movie. The foreshadowing of this film is unfortunate because you got a significant thing like Mjolnir being destroyed just to come back later on. You got a significant thing like Thor to lose his eye just to come back in the next fucking movie.
Well, and
So
that's one of the things. It's like you can tell that the MCU was not on the same page with Taika Waititi in this movie because yeah, like the Russo brothers brought the eye back, which honestly I didn't mind. Like if Thor only had one eye in Infinity War.
look, I don't mind. I don't mind. It's not like the be all and end all, but it's like, okay, come on, like you did this, and you're not sticking with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah. So like that's all I'm saying regarding that. But the good thing about this movie is like this film leads into Infinity War, and
Directly.
directly into Infinity War, and it just makes you appreciate all the tie-ins now having different directors and different writers trying to make all this shit work. You're starting to see the fruits of the labor with this movie as well.
So,
This is top tier for me,
all right,
without a
boss man,
doubt.
where did you put it?
Top tier.
All right, I was doing that'll do, but you guys outvote me for 2 top tiers. So, Thor Ragnarok, top tier, baby. All right, so let's go into Black Panther.
Okay, I want to start with this. As somebody who's probably the most closest associated regarding the origins is my parents were from Africa. There's lots of Asian people like myself who've been in Africa for several generations, and I thought I would really, really love this movie, but I just found this film to be okay. Like this film, like the hype train for this movie was unbelievable, and I was really looking forward to it, yeah, because I understood the significance of this film and all of that sort of shit, but I just found it to be a run of the mill superhero movie, with like a relative coming back to haunt them and shit like that. It's really cliched in that sense. Michael B. Jordan's great in the film. Chadwick Boseman's great in the movie, but Martin Freeman's great in the movie. But Jesus Christ, Andy Serkis as Ulysses Claw, like the best part of the film. And when they killed him off, I was so gutted. I want to see more of this guy. You know what I mean? And you killing him. He's the best thing about this fucking film. The big battle at the end was kind of stupid between husbands and wives and shit like that. So I mean, it's just the magical flower which it brings you back. I'm getting Lion King vibes at some point. You know what I mean? With the mystical.
Shawenya.
It was, this film is really popular with a lot of people, and I just find it to be an average movie.
All right. Where are you gonna put it?
It's between 2 and 3 for me. I'll make my call after I hear you guys.
All right, boss man, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to review this movie on two parts. All right. First, it's the first like black directed, black mainly acted. I mean, as a black majority cast superhero movie that we've had, and I think it's good to have people of all faiths, religions, ethnicities represented. And I think it's good that we have a majority black cast in this movie. So I think that's really good. But I do agree with you. What you're saying, Zam, it is a very trite story of. It seems like very low key Thorish in a way. That here we have a brother coming back, and it's like, but I did.
Claiming the throne, like cousin came in the
Yeah, yeah,
throne and all that sort of shit. Yeah.
but I don't like the fact that Killmonger is this ex CIA agent, whatever it is, and like that's the reason that he could kick.
Yeah, he was like a proper military guy, but he was brought up in the American military and shit. So
Yeah, so that's the reason he could kick T'Challa's ass, and again, and I like the fact that he's like this violent guy, and you can tell that he's not necessarily a bad guy,
he
but
just got
that
a different way of looking at things. No, but he wanted
yeah,
to start a race war, dude. He wanted to start a war. He had an issue with it. But he definitely had issues. I think maybe I could be wrong with this, but he felt like he had issues with white people, like massive issues. The Killmonger character. I mean, people like Ulysses Claw was a means to end, but he was happy to kill him when he had a chance. So, yeah, that's how he felt. He felt, it might sound controversial, but Killmonger was a racist. He wanted to
yeah.
fight back. He wanted to he wanted to be the oppressor. He wanted to be the oppressor. He was like done being oppressed. I want to oppress you, motherfuckers. And that was that. This is what makes
Yeah, he
Black
didn't want
Panther
to.
a hero.
He didn't want to
Yeah,
solve the problem. He wanted to shift it. Like
yeah.
skew the scale.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what
So
made Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, a great hero. With he didn't want to do that.
okay, I'd say it's a two tier because of its cultural impact, because it's the first black directed, black majority cast comic book film, and a film of this type that did really well. A lot of like stupid racists were going, "Oh, the film about black people, directed by black people, starring black people, would never sell." And yeah, it did gangbusters.
Yeah,
Bossman, it was more, even though it was a black cast, yeah, it felt like it represented everybody. Like it meant there was a bigger thing to this, but it just happened to have a lot of black people in it. If you know what I mean.
yeah, and well, here's the thing. It's like because and I've said this before is you got to get the right people to do the right job. I mean, Ryan Coogler did a fantastic job directing this movie. All of the actors in this movie were great, black and white. So it's like, I mean, I have no problems with this movie whatsoever. But when people try to make it like, oh, it's an all black cast and an all black production team and all that's kind of where I'm like, all right, well, you're kind of doing this in the wrong direction. You need to say, look at this black director who did this great movie, who made gangbuster bucks, and because you're kind of I don't is it reverse?
No, basically, this film is about a superhero in Africa, and it's set in Africa. I mean, people will
Mm-hmm.
know it's black in that particular sense, and
Yeah, and it makes sense.
and all and all the other things that go with it as well will eventually get mentioned and stuff like that. But I think sometimes you're doing a disservice when you're saying this is the first, because eventually we just want this to be the norm. As
Yeah.
somebody who's an ethnic minority myself, who understand, we just want this. We don't want it. We want to be like everyone else. We don't want people to think, okay, there's a lot of black people in this. It's a black thing and shit like that. Just accept it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the way we see lots of white people in shit, we accept it for what it is. It shouldn't be any different. Whatever that, if it's a film set in Africa, then that's how it is.
Well, but
You know what I
that's
mean?
how they go. That's how they also go with the Captain Marvel movie. It's like it's a female led movie, and it's a woman director, and it's a blah blah, and it's like, can we just, and even with Wonder Woman, female led, female director, it's like, can we just, I mean, if that's how it happens to turn out, and that's the best person for the job, I don't care if it's a black director directing a bunch of white people. I don't care if it's a white director directing a bunch of, like a bunch of Asian people. You know, like I want the best people for the job, and really we shouldn't be
Yeah.
focusing on it.
Yeah, stop. We've gone past this now. We don't need to be bringing up these tropes anymore. We're beyond that now. If we want to be seen as all equal, then just
Do it.
just just do it and stop like grandstanding this shit.
Yeah.
It's we're all equal now. We're trying to be. Just not focus on these things so it becomes controversial. Because when you start saying this shit, it becomes controversial. You know what I mean? So let's just not talk about it in that sense anymore. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. All right. So where you said you're putting this 2 or 3?
Oh, where you putting yours?
Oh, I was okay with this movie. I would say tier 2 probably. Boss Man, where'd you put yours at?
Tier 2.
Tier 2. Sam?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, tier 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a little monkey in the wrench here, or what? A spanner in the works. I'm sorry. I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works. We're gonna wrap this part up, and we're gonna have a 4th part, which we are gonna cover Infinity War all the way up through Spider-Man: Far From Home. So, thank you everybody for joining us. We're gonna
Okay.
come back for one more part. I know we said it'll probably be 3 parts, but guess what? We went on longer than we should have, and we're the bomb, so we get to decide. So anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Say bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.